Hey everyone, this is Tom Sullivan here with another video for us today. And today we are going to be talking about the home buying process and some mistakes to avoid while going through it. So for all of you, I know this is a new process and this can be a very stressful time to figure out how do you go about appropriately purchasing a house. So whether it's dealing with the mortgages, figuring out attorneys, figure out how to go through the inspections. There is a lot to deal with. And today we're just going to talk through a couple of those points and things that you are going to want to keep a close eye on to avoid. So the five that we're going to be going through, and first we'll start off with, is not considering a budget. So this is very common. As you start to look at houses, you say a certain number that you want to start at, and then before you know it, that number's climbing higher and higher because you keep on seeing properties that you may like more. But you got to make sure to keep that into consideration as you go through these properties. So in order to get a good number to work with, the big thing you got to do is work with a mortgage lender to see what you get approved for. And without going too deep into the calculations behind this, some of the things you got to keep an eye on is your income compared to your debt. So if you have too much debt, you're not going to have a high enough income in order to buy expensive properties. But based off of this balance, credit score, and other reports that they pull from a mortgage lender, you're able to see how much you truly can spend. So first and foremost, before you start looking at houses, make sure you get in contact with a mortgage lender if you're not buying the property cash. And then from there, you'll be able to budget where approximately you could purchase your house. Now, one thing to keep in mind is just because they say you're approved for a certain number does not mean you should spend up to that number, because that could put you into some tight spots when it comes to your finances. So always try to find a good balance between the price of a house and that quality or the aspects of the house that you're looking for. To go into our second point, one thing for us as you're going through that mortgage lending process you need to keep an eye on is make sure you get a couple of rates. So make sure you get your interest rates, get a couple quotes from several different mortgage lenders. So one thing you want to watch out is if you just go with one, they may not be giving you that best offer. So as you get multiple offers, you'll be able to do a comparison to see who gives you that best offer. And then in all honesty, if there's someone who gives you a better offer, you could always bring that back to that other location and tell them that you got a better offer, better interest rate, whatever that situation may have been. And then from there, you may be able to renegotiate some other terms as well. So make sure to reach out, do comparisons in your area. If you're working with a realtor, ask them for some insights of different lenders you can use. And from there, you'll be able to make sure you get yourself the best value. Now, while you're going through that process, a big thing to keep an eye on, and this would bring us into step number 3, is making sure that you are prepared for that mortgage process. Getting a mortgage is not as simple as just calling a number and saying, I want to purchase a house. There's a lot of numbers that go into that, and the honest answer is from a mortgage process, it can sometimes take 2-3 months for it to go from start to finish and close on your house. So be prepared for that. Don't expect it to be done in a couple of days, even in a couple of weeks. And in order to speed up that process, there is a lot that you can do, and that's making sure you are prepared. Make sure you have your tax returns all put together. Make sure you have your employment history, your pay history, pay stubs available, and also all the other information they may need, like driver's license, social security. All of that information, the quicker you can get it to them, the quicker they can get the process started. And then from there, the quicker you can start to work on getting a closing set. It's still probably going to take you about 2 months for that closing to happen, but at least as long as you have your paperwork prepared ahead of time, you will be in good shape and good status to keep that process going. Now, as we already touched on a little bit, there are a lot of different aspects that come in that 2-month period. So not only are you working with the mortgage and getting that set up, you're also dealing with the realtor and doing a negotiation. And also, one of the most important steps, you have the home inspection. Now, a lot of people may take this for granted. Some people just skip right over it and waive doing an inspection. But I would say in most cases, if not all cases, an inspection is a great thing to go through with. The reason for this is it can catch things that you may not have seen prior to putting in that offer on that house or prior to going through further with your contract. And what that process is all about is you take an inspector out with you to the house to be able to check a lot of different aspects of the house. Could do with the electric, foundation, structure, could be some more basic cosmetic things, that cracked or broken windows you may not have seen, but any of those things are things you should want to know before you go ahead with a house purchase. And in those processes, you can then renegotiate with that seller of the house if there are things that are out of line, or if you find something that is very dangerous or scary with the house and you don't feel comfortable with it. This is the time, this is your opportunity to get yourself out of that contract. So please make sure that you put your due diligence into getting a good inspector, and you truly spend the time to go through the information that is found in that home inspection to determine if there's things you got to watch out for, things you have to renegotiate, or things that you want prepared and repaired before you end up moving in or moving forward with that contract. And then lastly, just the fifth point to talk here has to do with closing costs. So closing costs are something that is not always taken into account with a home purchase. If you have a good lender, they will go over these numbers with you early in the process. However, this can be a pretty big expense as you're finishing the closing of the house. So with this may be different expenses you got to pay with the mortgage you have itself. There may be points, as they call it, that you have to pay. You may have to pay part of the taxes up front, or any other additional fees from an attorney aspect. So make sure as you get to those final stages of the closing that you understand those expenses that are going to come up. Talk to the mortgage lender early in the process to figure out what type of closing fees there are. There are some cases where there are specials where they would actually reduce those or cover a lot of those fees for you. There's different ways you could set up your loans and your mortgages to help you cover some of those costs as well if needed. So make sure when you're having those conversations you truly discuss the different options you have, because that could save you a lot from either a money aspect later on, or also prepare you so that when that time comes you have the funds allocated and set to the side that you will need. And so I hope you all enjoyed this quick video, just taking you through some of the things to watch out for as you're going through with the home buying process. Now with the way the markets are, there are a lot of people moving onto houses, trying to close on properties quick. So these are just a couple of things you need to really keep a close eye on as you move through that process, to ensure not only you're getting a good deal, but you've properly done the research before moving forward with a property. So just to recap real quick, make sure you keep your budget in check. You understand what type of expenses you can afford, so that way you don't put yourself in a bad spot down the road. Second, as it comes to getting rates for your interest, make sure that you're getting a couple of different quotes. So as you get a different quotes, you'll be able to work back and forth between those different lenders to be able to figure out what is the best option for you. Third, make sure you are prepared for that mortgage process. It takes a while. There will be a lot of discussions that happen throughout it. There'll be a lot of paperwork needed, and it does take about 2 months or so between starting the process to where you can close on a house if you already know the house that you're going for. Going down to the fourth one, inspections. Get them done, do them right, do your proper due diligence, and ensure that every aspect of that home, it meets your standards. If there's things that are out of line, that's where you can renegotiate with the seller, or you could take it a different route and get those things fixed on your own later down the road. Or if it's too dangerous or seems like too much work and you want to get yourself out, that is the time to have that discussion and get yourself out of the contract as long as the contract allows. And then lastly, from a closing cost standpoint, there are a lot of expenses that can come out right before you close and get to walk in the doors of that house. So make sure you have those discussions early on with your mortgage lenders and you understand those true costs that are coming your way. There are situations where you can use different loans and different mortgages to help cover some of those costs. There are specials that will help decrease those as well. So make sure you're considering all options from that aspect. But with those 5 things, really hope you enjoyed this video. This is a new channel that I'm continuing to look to grow, and we'll be showing you a lot of different aspects of finances, investing, or just anything in general to do with motivation and getting your life on the right track for financial independence. So thanks again for watching this video. Hope you're all subscribed, throw us a like, and I look forward to seeing you next time.